how have you worked out that it would cost every household £1,000 a year to give public sector workers an inflation matching pay rise?
So we have taken the level of inflation, which is currently about 10–11%, and we have projected that forward for next year because that's what you'd expect it to apply to, and that would give £1,000 for every family if we match that for the public sector.
Well, we've had a look at your numbers, as you'd expect, and we've asked the Treasury also how they worked it out. Now, your figures have used the inflation figure of 11%, which is just for 1 month. The OBR actually projects that next year inflation will be far less than that. Not to speak of it, when you're normally working about pay negotiations, you cut an average of inflation, not just 1 month, which is what you have done. So it's not £28 billion, is it?
Well, the requests from the striking unions across the board is generally about CPI. And the CPI level inflation is currently between 10 and 11%. And actually, if you look in the case of nurses, they want RPI plus 5%. Actually, that gives you 19%. So you could actually argue that we're underestimating the number.
Well, you think it might be more than that. If that's the case, then why have the independent number crunchers, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, come up with a figure of £14 billion as being the cost of doing this?
Well, you'd have to ask the IFS how they justify their numbers. But what I can tell you is our number is justified on the basis of taking the inflation number, which is what the unions are asking for, and projecting it forward to next year. That would give you a cost of about £28 billion, and that's £1,000 per household.
But your inflation numbers that you're using are actually inaccurate and out of date. If you're talking about next year's pay settlement, nobody expects inflation. The OBR, who are independent, don't expect inflation to be anything like that next year. And this, for nurses and other public sector workers watching, this is about this year's pay deal. So if you want to be honest with people this morning, your numbers are not completely accurate, are they?
Well, actually, Laura, I completely disagree with you on that. If the unions are turning around to us and saying, for example, the nurses' union, no, we don't want 19%. If the fire brigades union and others are saying, actually, we don't want to have
I'm asking
CPI
you about your
inflation. No, this is an important point.
This is an important point for our viewers.
Forgive me, we can only take the number that we have now. The inflation number we have now, it was a bit over 11% last month. It's dropped very slightly to 10.7%. It is reasonable to take that number and project it forward and say what it would cost next year.
But
now,
why wouldn't you take the number that's come from the Office for Budget Responsibility Minister?
If they are saying that they want to have a lower number, then that is a different proposition, and that's not what they're coming to the table.